Better shake your booties for black girl nerds. Better shake your booties for black girl nerds.
Hey everyone, welcome to Black Girl Nerds Podcast Live. And we appreciate you guys joining us. We're dropping a new one on you, 2 in a week.
Oh boy.
So thanks for coming in on a Saturday afternoon to join us. I just realized we're like on opposite sides, Brian, from last time.
We're just bringing you all the confusion and all the newness. It's cool.
You know, we want to, keep you on your toes, keep you guessing a lot. If you haven't figured it out already, this episode is going to be about the show First Kill. We're doing a full series recap, which it's easy to do when you watch a show on Netflix. We've binged all the episodes. We're ready to break it down. Obviously, this is going to be a spoilerific episode.
Yes.
So
you might have to mute us or pause us for a little bit. Watch the 8 episodes, come back.
Yes. So if you have not seen First Kill yet, by all means, you might want to skip this one and then, go watch it if you do plan on seeing it, and then come back and check out our show later on. But yes, this is a spoilerific episode. Okay. So just giving you that disclaimer, so don't get mad when you be like, but I didn't see that. I didn't know. Lots of spoilers. And then just some housekeeping. We ask that you always subscribe and hit the notification bell, and give us a little bit of a like if you like our content. That kind of helps us in the algorithm a little bit. And we do this for fun. We don't do this for the clout. We don't do this for the views, none of that. This is all fun for us. So we like giving you this content. But if you like this content, then let us know, because that helps us do really cool shows like this.
And also, you're ready when we surprise you like this if you hit subscribe. I'm just saying.
Right. You'll be ready. You won't be like, dang, I missed it. I didn't get a chance to be in the live comments.
So yes.
I see we've got someone here. Michael, thank you for giving us a nerdy emoji. Nerds unite.
I like it.
So yes, we are going to dive right on into the new series First Kill on Netflix. It premiered yesterday. We've actually got some content already on Black Girl Nerds about First Kill. We interviewed the cast. We interviewed the showrunner and head writer, Felicia D. Henderson. We actually interviewed her twice. So definitely check out her interview with us on Black Girl Nerds when you get an opportunity. And for now, we're going to dive right into the very first episode, which the episode was aptly titled First Kiss.
Yes.
So it was titled this for a very good reason. And Ryan, why don't you start? give us a breakdown of the episode and also what your thoughts were.
Yeah, just in general, I really like this. I was checking out Twitter. A lot of people are relating it to Romeo and Juliet, but a fantasy spin on Romeo and Juliet. I also think you can add in a little Buffy in there because it was giving me like YA Angel and Buffy vibes.
Definitely.
A little bit there. So I think you can add that in there a little bit too. But yeah, I enjoyed it. They definitely are Felicia Henderson, the whole team. They definitely ended it where you want some more, like another season or something. Like a couple more episodes to kind of round it out or something.
Okay,
like
we'll
they planned this.
that's the last episode. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, for the first episode here, First Kiss, we get both Juliet and Cal, or I guess I'll call them Jules and Cal because this is how they go throughout the whole series. I'm gonna call them this. So, but you have so Jules wakes up in a dream and kind of like she does a lot of her in and out dream states here. There she is. Because basically she is living a life or pretending to be something she's not. She's not for, and it was said very early before the series debuted that she is not for being a vampire. She is not comfortable in this world. All the things that come with being a vampire, she's not comfortable with. So we get her in this dream state, like Jamie is showing you here, where she wakes up, basically envisioning already Cal. Like kind of seeing something that's going to go down with their relationship and already in that world, like she kind of saw it coming. So I thought that was a really cool opening there. We get an intro to her friend Ben, who is when you I like the thumbs up.
I love Ben, by the way.
Ben is so cool.
Ben is my favorite character on this show. I absolutely love him. He's adorable. I feel like he would be my BFF in real life as well. So I get the fact that they immediately have a friendship and an attraction for one another and all of that. So anyway, sorry to interrupt you, but I love Ben.
Yeah, Ben is great. And I'm telling you, when you're a vampire, I think you need like a human sidekick. I feel like it's a requirement just to keep you grounded and keep you level. And Jules, she wasn't one for this environment, so they helped out. So shout out to Ben. I love the thumbs up there.
And also to kind of piggyback a little bit, or to just kind of rewind. So Juliet, she has been keeping a secret from the whole entire world, except for her family, that she's a vampire, including her best friend, Ben. And Ben and her have been friends since they were like little kids. And there was even a period where they themselves had a little bit of a relationship and they were kind of making out. But then both Ben and Juliet realized they really didn't like each other, or the opposite sex for that matter. Yeah. Juliet liked girls, Ben liked boys. So they had their own coming of age experience through their friendship. So Ben does not know at this point that Juliet, this is in episode 1 where we're breaking down First Kiss, that she is a vampire.
Yeah, and it's going to be very interesting. We get to the part where he finds out. It's very interesting. But yeah, he starts this episode not knowing that, her whole backstory. He's just a friend that's there to support her. They're both in this open, they're out of the closet. They're open about it. They can rely on each other. He's in a relationship that's not so good for him. And has showed her to lean on, to cry on a lot. So you get to see that cool relationship bloom between them and that representation on screen, which I think is so cool. So anyway, going back to the first episode here, we have Ben who gets Jules to finally go after her crush, which is Cal, which, Jules is very shy.
Also referred to as Calliope in the
Calliope Burns, Juliet Fairmont are the two, basically the Fairmonts and the Burns are the families we're going to be dealing with here as we go throughout the series.
Mm-hmm.
So, but yeah, I'm keeping it short because I got way too into the fandom. But they're called Jules and Cals in the show. But yeah, that's their complete name there. So we have Jules finally stepping up to Cal, but she actually bumps into Cal, and then Ben is like her wingman on the side, trying to get her to finally give the full introduction and get invited to a party, which both Jules and Cal do not like parties. But you're in high school, you try the parties out at least once and get down to it. Right. So they get to this party and
they play spin the bottle.
Yeah, they play spin the bottle. Right. They play spin the bottle. That's how they actually get their first kiss. So that's how we actually get to the whole first kiss of it all and go back. Yeah. Yeah. This scene gets a lot more intense than this. But yeah, if you wanna check it out, go back to the episode and check it out. But yeah, this is the spin the bottle moment here. And which actually Ben again sets us up. He is very much her wing guy in this and knew something was going on. because he sets it up in the spin the bottle moment here. But as we're in this episode, as we're in this scene, though, we go back and forth to kind of get the background on these two ladies. So you open up with Jules, but you also get Cal's background, where you figure out she is a very calculated hunter, comes from a family of hunters. So all of her moves leading up to the scene are very calculated. And I think that's very interesting to point out about her character and how she gets to this first kiss scene, because she has a totally different agenda. And they go back to, they show the flashbacks of both of them, how they get to this moment. One is trying to, both of them are trying to make the first kill, like the title says, but one is like actually really feeling this other person. And the other one is more like she's hunting a monster. So her whole thing is like working this game out. She's playing a game with Jules at the very beginning. And so it's very interesting because it's that teenage first crush, and it's that having your crush try to kill you. Because she doesn't know everything about, she doesn't know everything about Jules at this moment. So essentially this episode, like the main part of this episode, she rounds out with staking Jules because she thinks she killed her.
Yeah,
and
to rewind it just a little bit more to give more context, Calliope comes from a family of monster hunters. So it's in her, what's the word that I'm looking for? It's a part of her nature, rather, to hunt monsters, including vampires. So her first instinct, it's part of her instinct. That's the word I was looking for. So part of her instinct is when they do have this spin the bottle moment and they're in the closet and they do kiss. She is attracted to Juliet, by the way, Calliope, Cal. She is attracted to her, and Juliet is obviously attracted to Cal. We see that play throughout this first episode, but her hunter instincts kick in when she realizes that Juliet is a vampire, and then she stakes her straight into the heart, and then we see Juliet collapse, and that's the end of that scene. So it is very interesting that it's called First Kiss, but then you referred to it, Ryan, as both of them kind of having their first kill, because Juliet was about to clench her teeth into, or actually did. I'm sorry, she did.
Yeah,
clench her teeth into Cal's neck. So they both had their first kill.
And actually, I couldn't tell either in this scene what was actually going down, because it heals as soon as these vampires sink into the victims. They don't have to actually drain them, so the bite marks continue, like, instantly heal up. So I didn't think at first, until it took me a little bit to kind of look back at the context, I didn't think she really bit her at first. And so I was thinking, man, Cal just, like, she went for that, she took her out. And I was like, I don't think she actually bit her, because I couldn't tell at first because they healed up. So I thought that was an interesting interesting trait of these legacy vampires. And I don't know if we should all the way back up, because I got so hyped getting into this episode. I guess let me go back onto what Jamie was touching on with Juliet Fairmont, her family. We got Margot, we got Eleanor, we got Sebastian. Margot and Sebastian are her parents. And so Margot, her lineage, she is actually a legacy vampire through her lineage, being born that way. They call them legacy vampires, because the sunlight doesn't affect them. They can eat human food. They do have to feed. And they have to have their first kill.
They can eat human food without getting ill, is what they reference.
Yeah. So, and so they have to feed, though, because they are vampires. They're not going to be going around murdering people.
They're like mutant vampires, because it's like, obviously they're immune to sunlight, but also, like, you can decapitate them and they'll grow back. Like you can decapitate their arm and their arm will grow back. Which we find out in a later episode. But yeah, they're different. They're not the standard vampires that we're used to seeing in some of our favorite shows. Yeah. And the silver doesn't affect them either. It's gonna slow them down for a bit, where they gotta heal up. But I thought that's pretty gangster that the silver doesn't really do anything. Like, because they try, we get to the episode where they try that, but that was interesting as well. But yeah, their main thing that I think makes them super dangerous is all of these traits allow you, right, to blend in with humans. Nobody would ever know you're there, ever know you sneak up on them,
because they've been going, like I said, they've been going around. They have to feed because they're vampires. You wouldn't know because they're, like I said, they are not supposed to kill. They're supposed to be, because they're trying to blend in, not draw attention to themselves. So you would never know that one of them is going to plan a sneak attack or show up and pop up on you. Sebastian, by the way, is a DA. So that also makes him very dangerous. He can like, they can hide the bodies. He's working with the law to protect and save his family. So yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Anything you want to add about the family, Jamie?
Oh no, you broke it all down. So that's pretty much the family that we have for that episode, and then we end with the first kill between the two women, and then let's move on to episode 2, which is First Blood. Where do we even begin?
I think this episode opened up with, and you guys let me know in the comments if I'm wrong. We opened up with Cal running because this is right after she stabbed Jules and didn't know what was going down. Also, there was another murder that we'll come back to at the party. So there's like a combination of the intro
Ashley,
and that
right?
that first. Yeah. So there's she's one of the, I guess she's one of the she's one of the hip party girls of that high school. One of the it girls throws the party. She's one of the main people of the party. And she ends up getting killed as well, but that's a whole other thing different from what's going down with Jules. Well, sort of. Well, we'll get to it.
Yeah, because they break down the reason for her death in a later episode. So
So Cal's running from the police, and you got to be a little nervous. You got a black woman running here on the streets from the police because she has that guilty look. She has that guilty look from herself, though, right? Because she knows, like, it's so funny because she knows what she did, but she's also like, oh gosh, I looked the wrong direction. And these people like chasing her down the street. I think she ends up getting on like a bus or whatever where she can get away because you're like, oh god, this is gonna go so left. And she's in Savannah. Shout out to Savannah. It's fabulous and great. But
the setting for this show is it's the beautiful backdrop of Savannah. I love it. I love the fact that they filmed it there. I don't know if it filmed it in that location, but I just love the locations
that'd be cool.
Yeah, I love the locations of the setting of the story. And by the way, go ahead.
Jenny.
The music on this show is really good. I really enjoyed the music. It's almost like a character of its own. Every episode and every scene has some really great, like, both songs and then also just like scoring. Juliet has her own like interesting score whenever she has moments of, like, I guess being sick as a vampire because she's anemic essentially because she's not feeding. So the camera turns red and then you hear this very ominous music. So I really like the way they did the music in this show. Very well done.
Yeah. And by the way, I'll jump back into episode 2 as we keep going here. But yes, definitely love the music and how that added into the series. Lots of beats to jam out to, which is dope. You got to have that in this kind of series. So as we have Cal running through, she's dealing with her own crisis. Her family, by the way, so the Burns, they are, as Jamie said, they are hunters. They are licensed, or their rules and their structure comes from the Guardian Guild. So, and they are trying to become these elite hunters. They're already pretty good, but they're trying to set their status in the Guardian Guild to be these, number one hunters already. The family's already had that legacy where they're known. And so as part of them, you have Theo, you have Apollo, her 2 brothers, and you have Talia, her badass mom. Hopefully I can say that on YouTube. We'll see if that has to be out. But she's pretty dope too. There you go. And her dad, Jack, there. So those guys are dope. I love any interaction of them on the screen. The whole family really it's just so cool because when the last time where you have like black hunters, vampire hunters, to be able to see that kind of stuff on screen.
Yeah.
Jamie, I'll let you go ahead.
Jack, Theo. Jack is on the left, Theo's in the middle, and Apollo is on the right in that photograph. So I love the family. I will say that Apollo, though, he got on my last nerves. He really, every series has a character that you just can't stand that gets on your nerves, and Apollo is that dude. He's a little bit rebellious. I think we can discuss it. This happens in episode 2 where They do their hunting, and then he picks up a summoner, and he's not supposed to do that. And as a result, I forgot the name of the kind of monster, but it leads to a monster.
I think it's called a shambler. I think it was called a shambler.
Shambler, thank you, coming to their home, and he's just very irresponsible, and I think his ego kind of gets the best of him. So he doesn't think first. He just goes off of emotions, and you see that play out through the series. But it lands him into some sticky situations, which, they got a shambler in their home now. But yeah, I just wanted to say Apollo got on my last nerve.
Yeah, you can tell the family too. He's very much that kid, that brother that you need to keep a tight leash on. You need to watch him. You feel like you're always cleaning up their messes. He can slay some monsters, but it's the afterwards. It's the getting yourself together. It's the following the rules that he struggles with, that this family has to constantly kind of like keep their eye on. You can tell Talia, their mom, she is just not having it. She's real pissed right now because the shambler's tearing up her kitchen. She's trying to figure out, she ends up being the one that has to take the monster down because they get, Apollo and Theo get taken out a couple times trying to fight the monster. So you can tell he's very much the problem child in there. But I'll give Apollo a little bit of something though. He has, as we continue throughout the series, he sort of kind of branches out a little bit, but he will get on your nerves when you first meet him. He will get on your nerves. So yeah, just get ready for that.
Mm-hmm.
So, but yeah, so I was leading up to that. That's basically what we have going on. We have Cal trying to run because she did that. We have her family trying to get this monster out of the house. We get to see the real threat and danger that follows being a hunter. So I thought that was so cool for that. We have a scene with Eleanor and Apollo. So we kind of get to see, we see Apollo as that problem hunter, that problem son. So we get to see how that kind of develops, and Eleanor's her own beast in itself. Literally, figuratively, like there she is right there with the lipstick. The lipstick stayed giving her away in this episode. She stayed putting it on Jules and everything, and it gives her away in certain elements. But yeah, Eleanor is a piece of work. I'll just put it like that. Eleanor got on Jamie's nerves. Eleanor got on my nerves.
Okay. So two sides of the same coin, Eleanor and Apollo. Yeah. I mean, Eleanor she's a beast, and she's very manipulative. She is someone who really is amoral when it comes to killing human beings. She is in it for the long haul, living that vampire life. So, and we learn more about Eleanor's manipulation and gaslighting of her siblings. And when I say siblings, plural, we're going to find out that there's another character later on. But yeah, she's just, she's not a good person, to put it bluntly. She's just not a good person.
And if you think a vampire can't get worse, they can. When you meet Eleanor, they can add on to their abilities and not use them the right way, if that's the right thing to say. But whew, Eleanor's a piece of work when she gets done with this. So I guess some more scenes to kind of point out in that episode. Jamie, I'll let you add in if you want to have anything else to add here as well.
Okay.
But we have a cool scene where first Cal gets in trouble because she's not supposed to be at the house this time of night anyway. But when Talia catches up to her, she's like, okay, what are you doing? What's going on? And she's so excited about having her first kill. When she tried to have her first kill, by the way, I should mention, as it revealed in episode 1, she failed. So she's kind of been carrying around that weight. And as a hunter, you find out that's a very big deal to have your first kill go wrong, because that didn't happen for her brothers. And so she's been looking for that moment ever since. So you get this moment with Talia, her mom, and you get Cal in there, and her mom is like, okay, you need to tell me exactly what happened, exactly what went down. What did you do? And it was one of my favorite scenes because I like so much, and you're probably not supposed to take this exact from that scene, but I love so much how her being part of the LGBTQ community is a thing that is just like, she's in a relationship. They're more concerned about who she's in a relationship with than her mom saying, okay, I don't want to see you dating women, or this is not acceptable. That's never brought up in this series or highlighted in this series in that way. And I thought that was so cool. But yeah, her mom, they're in this scene, I guess, in their kind of workout outdoor space. And her mom was like, I need you to show me exactly what happened. So she walks her through everything. and she sees like her daughter made that kill shot that was supposed to work with the stake, and so that automatically starts her wheels turning. Okay, what was wrong? Like, what happened? Why didn't the vampire die? If she faces monster, what's going down? And so this starts turning the wheels of where this episode leads out to them finding out. Okay, so they sent us to this town to kill some monsters, but we got some legacy vampires in the building. This is dangerous. How do we stop this? And it leads to them calling in a whole party, aunts, uncles. We get to see like a past romance that Cal had that's now turned her friend. So we get this whole group of hunters now in Savannah because it's going down, because you find out legacy vampires are hard to kill. And if you can accomplish that as a hunter, that leads to higher rankings, that leads to promotions for you, a bigger, better things for this family. So that's kind of how we kind of round out this episode with this new light that Cal has kind of brought into her family situation.
And then to add to that, this character, Clayton Cook, he also appears in episode 2, First Blood, and he plays an interesting role because he's a part of the guild, and the guild is basically just a league of hunters, and they all have a code, they have rules. And in this scene, he's talking to both Theo and Apollo, and there's some tension with Apollo. Again, Apollo has a big chip on his shoulder, and Clayton calls him out on that. But Clayton plays an interesting role in later episodes, which ends up getting some characters in some compromising situations. But I just felt the need to bring him up because he's introduced in episode 2 as one of the members of the guild. And, even though we don't know a whole lot about him in this scene, he's not somebody that, you kind of give him the side eye. Like, do I trust this guy? Like, is he a little sketch? And maybe that's why Apollo's acting that way. Is he picking up on something that we haven't figured out yet as the audience? So, yeah.
Yeah, that's a key point, because I wasn't sure where you kind of see where his character goes. It's interesting the interaction Apollo has with him, because Theo is like, listen, man, have some respect, calm down, keep it chill, keep it chill. And Apollo's just not having none of it. He wants answers. He wants to know why he has to be kept in this bubble. You also find out too, he's not happy with his assignments that they get every time they go to these places. So they very much have him right where they want him. And Apollo's like, I'm not for these rules. I want more explanation. And we find out later on, he's probably onto something. So even though Apollo gets on your nerves, he might be reading some people right here that we didn't think about.
He might have some better instincts than the rest of us. All right. So episode 3 is First Fight. By the way, I love how all of these episodes are titled First.
Yeah,
it's cool.
Yeah, I thought it was cool. It also plays into the teenage stuff with a little vampire spin. I like it because it's taking you through the different stages that they go through. So getting down to this episode right here, and I'm have to bounce back because all these episodes, this is why we told you a lot of spoilers. Sometimes you got to go back. If you're watching all the episodes and going forward, they bounce back to a lot of the moments that are happening. So we talk about that there was a kill or a murder also at this party. So Juliet, if you follow her family, for Juliet here, it's all about her family they're not worried about school and all that kind of stuff. All they worried about is her becoming official into this legacy, having her first kill, keeping the Fairmont family name president over everything else. So they have been waiting and waiting. Also, like Jamie says, it's affecting her health that she hasn't had her first kill. So this moment leads up to that. So this episode 3, she has actually told her parents that she's had her first kill, because she comes back from the party. She has like a little bit of blood on her face. She's covering up where she was staked at, but you can see like the blood on her face and everything. So she's able to really sink into this, except for to Eleanor, but she's able to sink into her family that she's had this first kill. The body turns up. Her dad, sees the evidence on the body and all that kind of stuff like that. And he's actually worried because he thinks that she's taking a step forward, because the girl that gets murdered is missing her liver. She's had like a head collision, accident, all that kind of stuff, like stuff that's not supposed to happen when you're a vampire just out feeding. So he's worried that she's taking it to another level, but she's convinced her family that she's had her first kill. So this episode is the ceremony. I forgot the exact name for what the ceremony is. But after they have their first kill, all the, the who's who in their vampire world come in, all the family members, their grandma Davina, who's a piece of work, shows up. There she is. She is holding the emerald machia, I think they pronounce it. But basically, this is the snake that created the legacy vampires, for like a lack of like skipping some of the details they'll put in there when you check it out. But yeah, this is the end all be all. So you want to be able to have your first kill, hold this snake. I think the snake is not supposed to bite you. I think that's the whole ritual and everything like that. And then you'll now will be into, this legacy of the family, and this family gets to hold on to the snake as well. That's like their, end all be all, glory to that family. Everybody respects that family when you could keep this going down from generations in that line of vampires. So yeah, this is what this episode kind of culminates around. And Juliet for a long time, or Jules for a long time, has to keep up this lie throughout this episode, and we kind of slowly see it chip away when she has to finally reveal what really went down. And we also get a lot of backstory too of Margot in this, as getting ready for the party, having to deal with Davina and her stuff. There's Margot right there, played by Elizabeth Mitchell, who like has that stone cold, like she was ready for this scene. I just feel like she had those stone cold faces in this.
I love her. She's
series.
Such a great actress. Yeah. And Margot, just in case we didn't make it clear, Margot is the mother of both Juliet and Eleanor.
Mm-hmm. So and she also turned her husband Sebastian into a vampire and was not willing to let him go. So he is subsequently, and something else happens to him later on that we'll find out. But he's technically vampire and human, which they don't really like. Like he was still he's not really he's not really legacy, as the grandma would have it. Like she gets pissed about this multiple occasions you'll get to see. But, she followed love. Margot followed love when it came to, her family and her decisions, which you don't get off the top, because Margot has a very like stone cold, expression about her. She's very much like Jules. And you kind of think she's almost just like trying to turn Jules into this monster, because she's always riding her about like, have you had your first kill? What's going on? You'll see her grab her like face and try to check out like her fangs and everything like that of Jules. So you don't think she cares that much for her daughter or for her family in that way, until that shell kind of like slowly gets revealed at this party. And you realize that she went through the same thing that Jules went through. She basically, so in picking Sebastian, she couldn't go on with the lineage, because you're supposed to marry a certain type of lineage of vampires. She was like, no, I'm not going with that tradition. She fell in love and she decided to go that route. And she finds this out because Jules is like, I'm not going through this with the ceremony, because we all know what she has going on with Cal and some other things that go down as well, where she's just like, I can't keep up this line anymore. I didn't have my first kill. I can't do this ceremony. I know I'm going to embarrass the family, but I just have to take whatever consequences I have to take to deal with this. And I thought this was such an interesting turn of this. And I feel like for me, this is the first time I'm watching a vampire series and somebody is so hardcore trying not to be a vampire. Like she's doing everything she can to buckle out of tradition. She doesn't want to lean into the fun aspects, as we'll hear Eleanor kind of bring to, of being a vampire. She very much just wants out of this world. She just wants to be a normal teenage girl, hanging out with her friends, having a crush. She doesn't want this other added extra stuff. And I thought that was such a cool turn to take in the series. You have anything else for episode 3, Jamie?
No, I think you pretty much summed it up well. I think that is interesting. Yeah, I don't think I've seen a show where someone is a vampire and they're doing everything in their power not to want to be one. And we find out in later episodes that she's actually going to try to do something where she's not going to be a vampire anymore. But yeah, it's an interesting, as you were describing the relationship with Margot and her husband Sebastian, it's interesting because it's like, okay, Margot married or fell in love with a human, which according to the legacy of the Fairmonts, or not the Fairmonts, what's her the Atwoods,
yeah,
to that is a no. You have to marry within the family.
Yeah.
But yet but yet Margot wants to infringe upon Juliet's rights as someone who doesn't want to be a vampire. Like, she doesn't want to feed, you know, she wants to, whatever it was that they were giving her. I think Eleanor was giving her like pills with blood in it. It might have been like some sort of
interesting. I've never seen that either. That was interesting.
Yeah, it kind of reminded me of like V in True Blood. So maybe it was like some sort of synthetic blood.
Yeah.
But yeah, like maybe this is the lifestyle that she wants, and you've got to accept her for who she is, as far as not wanting to be a vampire. And I just think it's interesting that Margot would be that way, given that she went against her lifestyle in a sense by marrying outside of the legacy family. So that's interesting to me. But yeah, I think episode 3 was great. We can move on to episode 4, First Date. Thoughts on that one?
Yeah, I don't think this is really good first date. I think I see where they're going with the first date. I don't think this is a really good first date. So I'm forgetting so what's the guardian that Theo had, or Apollo had an issue with? I'm forgetting his name.
Clayton.
Clayton. So Clayton makes an appearance back. Yeah, Clayton makes an appearance back in this episode because, and hopefully I'm not getting all these kind of blended together, but we're going back to this family is now on a hunt for these legacy vampires. Okay, Cal has brought this to their attention. They're coming all together. They're having a celebration. They're getting the weapons that they need to take out these legacy vampires. And Cal makes the mistake of saying that what if the monsters aren't all monsters? Or what if they're, hurting people they shouldn't be hurting? Because we know she's thinking about Jules, but her family doesn't know this. Her aunts and uncles, and what is the girl? I should have looked up the girl that she had a crush on too, that was part of the hunt and everything like that too, or used to be her girlfriend, I think, and now they're just friends. But you have it, Jamie?
I don't. I
don't. Okay.
I don't remember her name either.
She, I probably should have put her. I just kind of thought she was like, she's kind of interesting in the fact that she kind of changes Cal's whole I guess leaning towards becoming the ultimate hunter, I guess, in a sense. Cal still figures it out, but she tries to throw a wrench in that. And I didn't know if it was part jealousy, part Cal beats her in like a sparring match earlier that episode. So I don't know if she was pissed about that. Could have been a mixture of both. But basically, when Cal has this revelation, thinking she could come out, thinking she could talk to a friend and express that how she's nervous about this. She knows what she has to do, but we know Jules is going to be part of this family, somebody she might have to take down. And so the worst thing you do as a hunter is say that you think there's another side to the story, another side to these monsters that you're trying to kill. So her supposed friend takes us back to the guild, and the guild is like, okay, you guys can go hunt down these legacies. You can go through with this hunt, but we need to take Cal out of the picture. And so this is where this the guild member that is sent back to watch over her comes into place. And I keep on forgetting his name. I do not know why I keep forgetting his name, but he comes back to watch over Cal in this scene. And we figure out why he's so suspicious, why Apollo probably wasn't trying to deal with him, because it goes all the way left where it turns into he's trying to, I don't know if he was necessarily trying to kill her, but he was trying to get her back to the guild to kind of get his brownie point, so to speak, is what was going down. Like he's trying to get his come up off of what he knows about her. And his is probably partly jealousy. I feel like a lot of these hunters were trying to one up each other. Like a lot of these different families and stuff. They come together and do what they got to do. But there's a lot of different ranks. There's a lot of people trying to outshine each other. So that would be a cool story to kind of get into one day, because they kind of have to, touch on it and get back over to the other story. But I think that would be cool to kind of break down the guild a little bit more. But anyway, so we have to deal with Cal getting away from him. He's turned out to be low-key creepy and going to all the way to the left of what he was supposed to be doing with his responsibility. So you have that storyline going on. You have Jules is at this, she's already said she's not going down with this ceremony. And at the ceremony, her brother Oliver comes back into a picture who is the twin of Eleanor. And this is kind of how we get a little bit more, and that is also Carmen. his girlfriend, she is a witch beside him. So we'll get to her. She has a lot of stuff to the story as well. She's also tied to the murder that we'll come back to. She has a little bit of stuff to this. But yeah, this couple right here is coming forward. They didn't come here to play. But Oliver you get to figure out why Oliver is not talked about a lot in the very beginning of this. Kind of not, they mention him a little bit, but the parents kind of don't want to talk about him as part of the family, how he's kind of like embarrassed them, so to speak, or try to tarnish the legacy of this family, what this family is known for. So he comes back. And just in time, because Jules needed a savior. She didn't have anybody else on her side, because everybody is very much for keeping this family legacy intact. That's all they're worried about. You got to have this first kill. They don't want any holes in this. They want this family to stay on top of these other high-ranking vampire families, or however this all plays out. They want to keep that control. They want to keep that power. So there's a lot of pressure on her, and it seems like she doesn't have anywhere she can move. She doesn't have an out until Oliver kind of shows up. And he's there to cause all kind of trouble. Like I said, the parents do not want him around. We get to figure out something went down with him and Eleanor. Jamie, go ahead.
No, I first of all, Oliver's great. The actor that plays him very schmarmy and he's very condescending. And he just likes to press people's buttons. And I really find every scene that he's in is interesting, because he goes toe to toe with the Fairmonts, because they've basically excommunicated him from the family, because he didn't want to be a part of the legacy tribe again, like kind of what Juliet is doing, but he was very rebellious in that. And we find out in later episodes why there's a lot of antagonism between him and his sister Eleanor as well. So he's just had a really rough time growing up in the Fairmont household, and he just wanted out. So Oliver is a very interesting character. And then, going back to Calliope, Cal's confession about, is this something we should be doing? And, with the vampires, that also plays into something too that we find out in a later episode about her bite. Because being bitten, she basically there's like, I don't know if you've ever heard the term like spiritual ties, but that's kind of what's happened. There's like a spiritual tie between her and Juliet. So, she was, of course, attracted to Juliet before the bite, but this sort of just enhanced it a little bit more. And that falls into a lot of vampire lore, because I remember watching True Blood, and that's how a lot of the vampires and their victims, would kind of fall for them, and they would be, kind of romanced after that first bite. So yeah, that part of it also plays a role because of the fact that Cal was bitten.
And also, speaking of bite, I thought was another interesting thing is when they do bite you, you get this kind of paralyzing sensation that I never paid attention to. If it's been in vampire lore before,
that happens when her blood was spilled on Calliope. Then because she was like, why is my hand paralyzed? And she's like, my blood is on your hand and it causes paralysis. So that's interesting. Yeah, because I've never seen that in vampire lore, that their blood causes paralysis to humans. So yeah, that's interesting. Yet external paralysis, like if the blood is actually on your skin, but yet humans can consume internally their blood and they're fine.
Yeah, that's interesting. I didn't think about that. Yeah, that's interesting. Huh.
You're not paralyzed with internal blood consumption, but external blood, it's a problem. So I don't know. That was interesting.
Interesting. I'm telling you, these legacy vampires, but you basically had, I think just a side note here real quick. I think one of the cool things about this show is you could really have two shows within one, because these families are so interesting. The way they're created, what their rule set is, where do they get their calls, where do they get their assignments from, who calls a lot of the shots, who do they have to answer to. All that kind of stuff is kind of touched on. But because we're telling a love story, because it's about Jules and Cal, we get like little tidbits, and because they only have 8 episodes, you don't get to dive into it. It also gave me like a Shadowhunters. I don't know if you guys ever checked out Shadowhunters before, where they kind of got into a lot of that kind of stuff, where you have like a guild you answer to. Vampires have their own factions and stuff they answer to. So I think it would be cool if they decide to continue this, if they could kind of go down the behind the background of these two, of the legacy vampires, of the hunters more. I think would be so dope. But yeah, anyway, that's just my little 2 cents. One thing I found was interesting.
First Love, episode 5.
So this one, I can only think about one thing in this episode that really stood out to me, but I'll try to take it from the top, because I probably should have took a little bit better notes on episode 5 here. But so we have basically this takes us back into the high school, right? So you have they've coming off of the fact of basically Jules and Cal, to put it short. There's a lot of things that going to happen on their first date, but to put it short, they've kind of essentially walked away from their families to choose each other. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of red tape, and it's not really going down like that when you try to tell a black mama that she about to walk away. So she Cal kind of walked the line a little bit. You know what I mean? Like Mama Bear wasn't having it, so she kind of walking the line. But I'm just gonna say, essentially for this episode, they walked away from their families. They're like, okay, we're gonna choose love. We're gonna choose each other for this episode. So they end up breaking into a school. Jules comes out a little bit with the vampire strength, busts out a window. And so now they got their gym clothes on and everything. And they spend the night at the school. They end up getting on the stage, and they kind of say some lines. Cal says some lines from Romeo and Juliet to kind of give you that feel. And they kind of exchange, what's your favorite food and past relationships? And when did you decide to come out? All the cuteness to kind of talk about like why they want to be a couple and all that kind of stuff on the stage. And that's kind of too when they decide that they want to kind of spend the day together. And little did they know though. Oh, look, see, there you go. That's a cool picture of them later on, because you can't keep these two apart. You learn as the episodes go that they're gonna like always come back to like this moment. They're like, even though people are trying to keep them apart, they have all these kind of monsters and stuff they're fighting. They're always gonna come back to this moment. So yeah, it's very cute to see their story come alive here. But yeah, so they're not essentially stuck at school, but now they have anywhere else to go, so they're at school. And you're thinking it's just gonna be okay, this normal day. They just get up, go to class, it's gonna be fine, right? Except for when the person that was murdered at the party in the first episode comes back as a zombie. That's when you got some issues. Being stuck at school. Yeah, and a little lockdown situation here for all the rest of the students. Ooh, I don't know, Jamie, if you want to add any stuff, cut me off.
And then the zombie kills one of the students, which I'm trying to remember his name. I forgot the name of the character, but he actually has a secret relationship with Ben.
Yeah, that's the relationship I was talking about.
Yeah, because Ben, remember Ben here? He's also queer, and this guy that he's in a relationship with has a girlfriend. He's in a public relationship with a girl, but on the down low. His name is Noah. Okay. But on the down low, Noah's hooking up with Ben, and Ben is feeling some type of way. Like, really? Like, I thought we were hanging out, because he basically, sidelines Ben to hang out with his girlfriend's parents, and they were supposed to hang out. And then what happens is Ben takes a picture of him on his cell phone, and he's like, well, I got to have something to, I forgot what, to spank my meat to, or something like that. He said. And then this enrages Noah, and he's like, delete that. That's evidence. Because again, Noah's in the closet. He doesn't want anybody to know. And then all of a sudden, this supernatural being just comes out of nowhere, smacks the phone out of Ben's hands. And we later find out that supernatural being was Ashley, the zombie, who later kills Noah. Yeah, and that was a brutal slaying, by the way. She ripped his spine out of his body.
It was giving me like Black Lightning vibes. I don't know if y'all remember. It was cringeworthy. I was trying to look away from. It's like one of the things where you should look away, but you still like, go. What's going on?
And then unfortunately, both Cal and Juliet discover Noah's body, and they're both, I don't think Cal is caught on video, but Juliet is caught. Yeah, Juliet is caught on video, and then she's brought in for questioning, and so it's a whole thing with her, like, is she a suspect? They don't know, but that was a very interesting episode.
Oh, actually, though, let me take it back. I think they both were caught on camera, because I remember the scene where they bring the police bring both the moms and Cal and Jewel into a scene, because
they were both brought in for that's right. They were both brought in for questioning. I guess I remember they only showed a scene where we saw a freeze frame shot of Juliet caught on the security camera, but I didn't see a shot of Cal. So that's why
because her mom was going in hardcore playing her husband Margot was going in hardcore playing the DA card with because of Sebastian, and she tried to point out that you can't even she was like, I can't even see what I'm looking at, and the officer tried to freeze frame it on Jules, and she's like, okay, so now you don't see what I'm talking about? It's clearly your daughter right there. Mm-hmm. So yeah, she Margot kind of stepped into it a couple, a little bit with her mouth a little bit. She kind of steps into it a lot and kind of makes the situation, whereas you got Talia on the other side, like, you better not say nothing, because I already got everything lined out. Don't you say anything? Don't you have anything happening here? And so, like, I really love the Margot and Talia scenes as moms, because you get to see that different point of view.
Yeah.
There's Talia right there. The outfits, by the way, too. Anyway, they
and this is the scene with Talia and Cal being interrogated by authorities after they're caught on video.
Yeah. So
Talia's great. Cool. I love her.
Yeah. But yeah, you get to see them. Yeah, you always get to see these moms competing, and I think they end up coming to a conclusion where they want to kind of have everybody kind of meet. It's like a meeting of the families to kind of situate this for now. They're not going to forget what goes down. What happens between hunters and vampires, but they want to kind of make it, somewhat a piece. It's like a little bit of a piece between the families, because they know what's going on between their daughters. So they have to create some kind of space there for there not to be that constant, like, okay, I'm getting ready to hunt you, and I'm getting ready to kill you over here, and all this kind of stuff. So they kind of come to an agreement. So that meeting, by the way, is interesting as we go throughout the episodes that we'll come back to, of both families sitting down and actually discussing.
I think we forgot to mention when Talia and the rest of the guild, Talia, Jack, Theo, and Apollo, they all go to the Fairmont residence during the whole
yes.
The legacy ceremony.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And
that kicks off their first date.
Right.
Not a first date.
Right. And Sebastian, who is the father, he's stabbed. Who stabbed him? Was it Apollo or Theo?
I think it was Jack, actually, because when they get in the meeting, she was like, that was like the highlight of my day or something. Yeah. Talia just taking shots.
So Sebastian, being that he's a half vampire, he didn't heal as quickly, and he almost died from his wounds. And if it wasn't for Davina, am I saying her name? Davina. If it wasn't for Davina and the snake, because she basically did some sort of weird vampire witchy ritual thing where she gave him a snake, and the snake actually went inside of his body. And
I would have been a hard pass for me.
Yeah, that healed him. But that wound up sealing Davina's fate later on. We find out.
Yeah. And we'll find that out later in this episode 5 that we're talking about here, First Love. But yeah, I mean, it was just an all around like bad day to be at school for these two ladies that just wanted a little bit of time to kind of get to know each other. Like the title says, the first love, the first, like, to me, this is still kind of going on their first date, because they really don't ever get that moment where they can kind of talk and kind of get to know each other like they were doing in this episode. Again, so I thought this was really interesting. You also get to see the Savannah, like we talked about how Savannah plays a big part into this episode, but you get to see how the other people in the town, the other humans that are surrounded by these monsters, surrounded by vampires, stuff that the monsters that they don't understand, and how they kind of function. Like, what are these parents, these human parents, these human kids think about what, you know, the legacy of Savannah, like what back in the day, like I think 25 years ago or so, they were talking about, they touched on a little bit, they had to be on lockdown because like the monsters and everything were taking over. Like you couldn't step out on the street. You get to hear one of the parents talk about, Ben's mom actually get to talk about, you couldn't step out your house, you know, without somebody, you know, getting stabbed, or without somebody, I guess, trying to bite you, or somebody trying to kill you, because there was just so many monsters going around in this area. So you get them going back to school, gives that outlook of like the actual area they're in, the actual town, how these people feel about, do they know what's going on? Does everybody really understand what's happening in their community? Are they aware of everything? So and there's a lot of news crews and everything around. So this episode is, there you go. So a lot of the ma'am, Mothers Against All Monsters, they were going hardcore, as the episode kind of picks it up from there. Ben's mom is the leader of it, essentially. She goes hardcore after Sebastian. We get to see a lot. Jules' dad, if we haven't mentioned that enough, she goes hardcore about how this town needs to be ran and keeping their kids safe. When Noah gets killed, everybody's like, okay, this just went to a whole other level. You know, the party thing was one thing, but now they're starting to connect the dots, and they're starting to be really scared for their kids in this school. You see Ben's girlfriend, her dad comes into one of the moments, and he's like, well, maybe we need to pull our kids out of school. So this town is really wreaking havoc, what's going on between these two families, you know, amongst these monsters that are now coming out of the dark, that are tearing this town apart, essentially, you know, and they're trying to figure out how do they protect their families. So it definitely adds like a whole new layer onto what was just a love story at first, you know, maybe a battle, a rivalry between two families. Now you're bringing in the community element, and it's just like, how do these two ladies, how do Jules and Cal navigate this now? And what does this mean for them? Does that pull them even further apart? So this episode was very interesting as a first love episode. But one of the things, though, I'm thinking about that I want to get to here, that was one of the moments that stood out to me, was Jamie touched on the fact that Davina, she is the mother of Margot. You know, she's completely, in a sense, almost written off Margot. Like, she's just not for it. She feels like it was an embarrassment in the sense that she's married to Sebastian. You know, that was not, you know, he's not a legacy vampire. What this means for her family, a lot of Margot's, you notice a lot of Margot's family is not there. A lot of her sisters and everything, a lot of her nieces and nephews are not there, because she's basically been banished herself because of the decision that she made. And so this comes to a head, though, because and I think this was in one of the episodes too that I probably skipped about Eleanor, but Eleanor is actually the one that was responsible for saving her dad, Sebastian, because she went to Davina, because she kind of has this pull with Davina, because they kind of like, you know, they got that little tricky, that similar, like, you know, out to get power, they know how to get it, you know, sort of vibe about them. So they really, you know, they really feel each other. So she was like, okay, I need you, you know, Davina's not gonna do that at kindness of her heart, because she's her grandma and wants to save her dad. So Eleanor's like, what can I do? I need you to save my dad. Eleanor is all for being there for Sebastian. She's gonna save her dad. She wants to protect her dad. She's like, what do I need to do? What can I do? And of course, Davina's like, oh, well, you know, Davina right away takes no pause and saying, look, I need you to marry this family so we can keep this family, this legacy of how, you know, how great the family is. And we need to keep this Emerald Maquia in the family. We need to make sure nobody else gets it. We need to keep the statue. We had this raid. A lot of people almost got killed at this at the ceremony. So we need to save face. We need to do something about this. So she's like, okay, cool, I'm in. Because, you know, Eleanor doesn't care. She's all about the power too. She knows how this works. She's like, I'm in. And they end up having, I won't kind of go into the details, but they have this whole scene where they show Eleanor getting ready to meet this other family, which has ties to Margot as well, because that would have been a family that she probably would have had to marry into back in the day. But we see it go left, because basically in the clause, when you get married or when you enter into these arranged marriages, you're expected to have a certain amount of kids, because they want that female cow, that female child, the female person that's going to continue the legacy. You have to go a certain amount, so you can say, oh, well, I expect you to have 4 or 5 kids in this contract before you sign for the marriage or whatever between the two families. And, you know, Eleanor is not about somebody telling her what to do. You know, also not about having like 10 kids so they get what they want. So she was like, no, I'm out. And she knows her dad she's like, I need to go talk to my dad, because even though Eleanor puts on this front of that she's out for power, you know, she understands her legacy, she wants that, she also knows who she can go to kind of have her back in a sense, or kind of rough her feathers. She knows who she can pull on to. And she also needed that little bit of backbone herself, because I think she was really scared in that moment, even though you don't see it that much. And she was like, okay, I need to go talk to my daddy. I need to go see my dad. And so when she does this, Eleanor takes off behind her as well. So you get them all in a bedroom, right? Because Sebastian's hiding out. He doesn't want to see his wife's ex. He don't want no part of this. He told her at the beginning, he was like, Eleanor, you don't have to do this just because you saved me. You don't have to do this. And so you get them all in the bedroom, and Davina starts going in. She's talking about how he doesn't amount to this, that, and the other. And, she saved him, so he better do what she tell him to do. And Sebastian ate her. Yeah, like the whole, like the snake that was like consumed the emerald maki and everything, he transformed into a snake and ate her. And I was like, how many times do you get to say that in a series? And I just remember like Margot coming up as well. You have Eleanor sitting like way back. She's kind of shocked as well too. And he's trying to explain. And it's weird because it's a sweet moment too, because Sebastian says how important his family is, and he will never let anybody come between them or hurt his daughters, hurt his wife. He will always do what he has to do. But it's weird because he ate the grandma. So it's like a whole, like, it's like a whole weird thing happening there. But yeah, it was so many cool things about this episode. But I just kind of thought that was just like, it was an expected moment for Davina, maybe the only moment Davina could end, because girl was a trip and she was going to go all hard in for this family. So maybe, I guess they had to eat her. I guess that was the only way to get her out of this family structure. But it also changed the dynamic of the Fairmonts, of their structure, kind of putting them in charge and who was going to be the next leader, and put Eleanor in a different light too. So I think that was like a game-changing episode for these legacy vampires for this family. So yeah, I don't have, that's pretty much what I got for episode 5. Jamie, if I missed anything, if you want to go back to anything.
No, we've spent a lot of time on episode 5, so let's move to First Severing, episode 6.
All right, so for this one, I'm trying to check my notes now, you guys, so I'll make sure I don't miss anything here. So basically, this episode it's called The First Severing because this episode starts out with Cal's family, the Burns, wanting her to totally be away from Jules. They want this total disconnect. They don't want this anymore. I'm not sure if this before or after they have to sit down with the Fairmonts, with the family, where they kind of come to this little truce, so to speak. But they don't want any more interaction basically between Cal and Jules. They want her to realize that she needs to stay, how dangerous these vampires are, that she needs to stay in the family. She needs to be aware of what's going on around her. So they have this severing ceremony, which actually the older brother Theo has actually been through before, because we end up finding out in this episode, or through the ceremony that Cal goes through, when because her brother is the only one that can perform the ceremony. But so basically I think it's putting silver through your veins to kind of counteract the venom or basically Jules's bite, like the impact that she has on Cal, is what they're trying to counteract here. They think she's not thinking, her mind is not clear. Things are going on here. She can't really see straight. She can't make sound decisions. So they want to put her through this severing ceremony. Now, Theo, I'll say real quick here, he knows about this ceremony. He's been through before. He's able to perform it because his mother was actually killed by we're going to find out, by a vampire, maybe legacy vampire. They kind of touched on it a little bit, but they kind of didn't break it all the way down as far as where that connection was going. But that's how he knows a little bit about the ceremony. So we find out that Talia's not really his biological mom. She's looked after him since he was like 7, but that's not really his biological mom. So we get to see a lot of he gets real emotional a lot in this episode, as anyone would. He's trying to find out answers about his mom. He feels like the Burns he feels like he's not all the way part of the family because of this incident. Like, it weighs on his shoulder. He needs to know who killed his mom. It's something he's always wanted to know. And doing this ceremony kind of brings back up some of those older demons that he's had to deal with in his process to try to help Cal. So I thought that was so interesting in this family. You can see Talia really be there and be like, listen, you are my son. Stop telling me that. You're my son, and we're going to help you, and you get to see Apollo not be his same usual obnoxious self. He kind of comes into the ranks too a little bit too, to kind of be there for his brother, because we really see Theo need the support and everything for this episode. But anyway, to kind of move through this episode a little bit quicker here. So we find out that she still can kind of, correct me if I'm wrong, Jamie, I think it was a dream state. I think it's also partially maybe them sneaking around a little bit too. But in terms, the severing kind of didn't work. I'm thinking in a sense, because she still kind of has these moments where we get Cal and Jules kind of still kind of hang out a little bit here. One of them, I think we see a dream world for Juliet or Jules at some point in here. So you can kind of, I kind of got lost a little bit as they were like, are they in the dreams together? Because the love they have for each other, the connection is just so powerful. Or they have a moment so they can sneak over and see each other. But it's more of them trying to get to know each other, and it's just strengthening that bond that they have, even though you have these two families continuing to try to pull them apart. It's basically what I got from this for episode 6. So I don't know, Jamie, if you have anything else you want to add to that.
No, I mean, I guess it just goes to show that maybe that the bond that they had was already there, that they already had those spiritual ties, kind of, so to speak. And that's why it didn't work. Because remember, we already know that at the very beginning in episode 1, that there was this instant attraction between the two of them. So, even though theoretically they think that the severing is going to somehow change things because of Juliet's venom pumping through Cal's veins, that's just not enough to stop the love that they have for each other, because they are actually like in love. So you can't break that. You can't sever that.
Oh, also, I think too, at the end of this episode, they end up finding the man, the guild member that was buried by them, because that ends up technically being Jules's first kill. Was this member that tried to essentially try to kill Cal, try to take down Cal. Yeah, here he is right here. So
he ends up getting killed by Juliet, and she drains him.
Yeah. So she did get her first kill. That was, she was trying to protect the people that were important to her. So that did happen for her. But they did not do a good job, which Margot points out in one of the episodes. She was like, that was just dumb. Why would you do that? Just dumb. That she points out that they found the body, because she's not concerned that her, obviously they wanted her to have the first kill. She's concerned, like, why would you hide the body like this? So this body was discovered, why these other teenagers that you keep seeing throughout that are part of the school, some are, maybe Jules, Cal's friends, classmates or whatever, ended up come upon this body here. So little dog gets a little surprised. He wasn't playing it while he was out in the forest and finds his body. So that opens up a whole other layer where everybody's going in. Again, I say this world keeps opening up about how this community feels about realizing how many monsters they might have in their community that had just been hidden. Everybody's not going like they think it's gone. So it brings up a lot of angry parents and everything that makes the thing 10 times worse. If you're already going through it and you got families fighting, it makes it like adds more pressure onto this relationship. So yeah, that's pretty much episode 7.
No, that's episode 6. Episode 7 is First Goodbye.
Let's see here. Where do I want to start with this one? Okay, so they have a moment here, and I'm not sure if I'm starting at the right point in this episode. But we have a moment here where we have Cal and Jules basically needing help. Like, this is kind of spiraled out of control as far as like what with the community being so intense, and the factions in their family, different things going on into their family. The guild is getting more suspicious of the Burns, what they have going on. Are they harboring vampires? What's the real deal here? People coming up missing, people dying. They're not really following the structure here anymore. The legacy vampires, Jules is almost like 9 times out of 10 never at home. Ain't no telling what Eleanor getting in. So both of these families are kind of divided here. So we get to this moment where Cal, and I don't know how she comes and like she's gonna do this and try to make this work, because I think they feel like they have no other option. But she takes her to meet Cal's parents, and the intro to having Jules walk through that door was hilarious. Like, they both had the guns ready to go, ready to fire at Jules, because you don't bring a legacy vampire into a whole house full of hunters. Like, it don't happen like that. And also Cal reveals that that's not you have to invite a vampire in, and they figure out that she's been there before, and her mom is just about to lose it. She's like, I'm about to kill this girl. I can't believe she'd have had this girl up in her bedroom. She'd invite the vampires in before her dad. The dad is just sitting over there like, he don't know. He's like, maybe we need to listen. I don't know what's going on. So they have this thing where she's like, I don't know how they made it up the stairs, really, because the parents are pissed. But Cal's like, look, I'm just gonna go. Like, I know you guys need some time to process this, so they kind of sneak upstairs and go upstairs to hide out. The guild ends up showing up later on, because I don't know. Like, I feel like the guild just be like ready. Like, I don't know where the security cameras is, how they know what's going down. but they end up showing up at the exact right moment that Jules is in the house, and
Jules
they
is in
try to
there.
right, and they bring like the silver and everything, like they doing full out trying to figure out what's going on. And you figure out, you also find out too, I'm getting the lady's name, but I'm assuming she's one of the head of the guild that was in there, and she has a little bit of tie to Jack, the that plays the dad.
Yeah,
Of
apparently
the
she's
Burns
the
family.
ex-girlfriend of Jack. We find out.
Yeah. Like you get a little bit of dirt there, a little bit. You're like, okay,
Okay.
Jack, what was happening? What was happening in the guild here? But
Mhm.
yeah, you can tell you can tell a little bit of that comes out where she trying to do a little extra. Like she like, oh, well, you need to let me in the house so I can find this. So y'all got 5 minutes to clean up everything. When she's not getting exact answers that she wants.
Right.
It's just like that building turmoil where she's getting mad. Like she knows something's going on, but they're too slick for her to figure it out. So
I'm
it's
guessing that
compounding.
she's being super aggressive about it because of Clayton's, disappearance. So
Yeah. They don't know what happened to him.
Yeah, she thinks something is up. So that's what I gather from it is they're like, okay, one of our own is missing. We need to figure out what's going on. The last time he was that we saw him was at your house.
Mm-hmm.
So something is sus around here.
Yeah, and I think we also get a instance where Theo is he does another thing where she's just ready to turn this family in. This is when she says, you need to pack your bags and get up out of here. I don't have time for you. You need to move. You need to get out of Savannah, because he's trying. Remember, he's on this quest to find out what happened to his mom. He's dead set on finding out the background and everything like that, and seeing these flashbacks, seeing that vampire, seeing what happened. He calls in the what I would consider one of the big guns. I'm just gonna go with, I think there's another technical name for him, but it looked just like a researcher, like somebody that's good with the tech. You always have that on one of the teams that's good with the tech that can bring in like the undercover.
Referred to as a hacker.
Yeah. So the hackers, the people that can break into the network when you need a little bit of secret undercover work here. So he brings them in. You see them with the computers that'll go undercover from the guild network and try to figure out more answers, try to put together those flashbacks he's having. And Apollo comes through, is going to help his brother figure this out, and they all get busted down in the training room or in the attic or whatever. Working on this research, and she's like, no, you guys did not just break into the guild secret network, try to find information. And that's what she had just had it, and she was like, get up out of here, y'all need to go. And little do we know, like as we continue to go, there's other things that happen where they don't quite get that pack up scene that they needed, but that she was ready for them to be gone. So you can tell at this point it's something going down with this family and the guild, and we don't quite get a conclusion. But we know that could lead to future episodes or future trouble for this family is what's going on, because you could tell they are supreme hunters as part of the guild. So they can't technically, so to speak, get rid of them. They got certain skill set, but they're very suspicious. So it's not good news. It's not good news. Mm-hmm. When you have hunters of their caliber. But yeah, I'm trying to think. Let me look over here. Let me see if I missed anything about I'm not sure if it was episode 7, but I kind of want to touch on a little bit here for Eleanor as we kind of get to like the last episode. Mm-hmm. But there's a scene between Eleanor and Jules, because Jules, like I said, like me and Jamie mentioned, I have never seen a vampire that more than anything just doesn't want to be a vampire anymore. She, mm-hmm. She's in love. She just wants to walk away from it all. She feels like every time she steps on something, she's causing problems. She's causing trouble. So Eleanor decides she's going to have a vampire ladies' night out. Is how I would describe it. So she's taking her to the fun of, how you go as a vampire. The drinking and the dancing. You're out late at night, mm-hmm. and they come across this guy that's you could tell he's just completely wasted. Take him out to the alley, and she's trying to train her on. Well, Eleanor don't really train anybody because she always got to hit a mode and do something. But she was trying to do the whole feeding process of what you would do as a vampire, where you're not killing somebody, not completely supposed to drain them of their blood. But mm-hmm. He's inebriated. He doesn't really know what's going on, so they could keep taking their bites and stuff like that. They move down to his wrist and all that kind of stuff. Jules is really, you can tell she's really drunk. Also, the pulling in this blood, this guy might have been on like some ecstasy or some other kind of drug or something like that was also mixed into the blood. So Jules is completely out of it. She's just going whatever her sister's telling her to do. She's just coming with it, to go along with this ride, because she thinks Eleanor is good. She still hasn't really completely figured out everything that she does about Eleanor, because Oliver, hasn't revealed everything, hasn't told her everything that's going down. So they have this scene where they end up eventually just killing the guy. because, obviously there's only so much blood you can drain from somebody where they bit him at and everything like that. The guy's already probably got chemicals in his system that's probably tearing him, that's tearing him down anyway, where he probably needed a hospital or something. They end up killing the guy. And we find out that Eleanor, first of all, Eleanor has a way to get rid of the bodies, which I'm like, Lord, how mercy, blessing.
Like, you could tell she's done this before.
Yeah, like she had the whole thing. I just felt so bad for Jules, y'all, because she was just trying to follow her big sister. She thought this was gonna be a totally different thing, and she finds out exactly who Eleanor is. Eleanor is not using. If you want to say there's anything good about a vampire, Eleanor is gonna find the worst thing she could find out of him, because she's using it as a power grab. She knows exactly where, how to use her powers, how to manipulate, how to find these people. So she dumps a poor guy in the river, no telling, no care about what kind of family he has, who's going to be missing him. Alligator comes up and eats them. So, there's definitely like no evidence there. Like, she done this before. She takes the driver's license of the guy, which she probably, I don't know, she had 50 plus more driver license into the storage unit.
She kind of reminded me of Dexter, how on the show Dexter, he always keeps vials of blood of all of his victims. So she has like a drawer full of identification cards of all of her victims, and it's a lot.
Yeah, a lot. It's a lot. I'm like, no, she does not have a whole cabinet of these like mementos, I guess she wants to call them, and locked in a storage bin. Like, Eleanor, y'all, she just be tripping, because she is just so much about the power. It doesn't matter about anything else. She's not worried about the relationships around her. She puts on a good facade where she could pull you in. She's very good at that. She could pull you in, and you think she's on your side, but she's trying to manipulate you to an ends to a means. She knows Jules is starting out. Jules has had her first kill. Eventually, Jules is very impressionable. She knows she can use Jules for what she wants, so she's going in for it for this episode. So I did not appreciate that at all. We had another, I guess the last part of this episode too that touches on Eleanor is Margot has a scene with her where she talks about she gives her like a necklace as sort of like her coming over gift now, because now she is in charge of the Emerald Market, because grandma got 8, so it is what it is. So it's going to the next person that has fully went through the ceremony, the next in line for this, so to speak. So it's Eleanor. And so it's kind of like that passing of the power, even though they don't have a ceremony. They can't, because they can't reveal that Davina is gone to anybody. So it's kind of like a unofficial ceremony or passing of the guard, in a sense, she has between her and Margot. So that's another layer to give Eleanor. Like, all of this is building on Eleanor going for ultimate power and pointing out the kind of vampire she wants to be and the kind of legacy she thinks she has, and she's willing to get rid of, like, she really go through any kind of family member, and she might get it from her parents that we'll reveal later on in this last episode, but she's willing to go through anybody she can to get to the top, and she's not worried about it. So yeah, I thought that was some important points to point out about Eleanor. Not sure if those all specifically were in episode 7, but you kind of start to get, by the time you get down the end of episode 7, in episode 8, you figure out how manipulative she is, and just the kind of why Oliver hates her so much, and why he was banished, why he doesn't come back. You start to get a feel of like this dynamic in this family. And also too, you see the dynamic between the Burns and in the Fairmont family, in terms of like how these parents, how the parents parent, like what is important to the legacy, what is important to vampires when they're your parents, what is important to hunters, like how, you see on the Burns side, they're willing to do anything for their kids. Like they she was sitting in labor with these kids. She had them say, these are her kids. You don't touch her kids. It's all about the family first. Then we're worried about, the hunting and all that kind of stuff later. Whereas with the legacy vampires, they got a position to uphold, right? They're on that climb up. These positions, it's a very much a power grab. You have to make your presence known as a vampire with these legacy vampires. And, to make sure, you have nobody's coming over top of you. You have the ultimate power. You're showing that you're not weak. To them, it's all about, are you trying to be weak that day? Do you realize, if you don't want to feed, if you don't want to do this, that, and the other, it's seen as like being lesser than. So you kind of get to see these dynamics of these two families and what they hold as important. So I thought that was kind of interesting too, as we finish episode 7.
Yeah. Was it in episode 7 with Oliver and Eleanor that we get the reveal about her gaslighting him and manipulating him as a child? And that also played into.
I think so, because a lot of these kind of mix together, because a lot of that is part of the first betrayal that we'll get into too. But yeah, I think that was towards the episode when that happened to her too. I think that was kind of her final like Eleanor straw there.
So that's a good moment of, again, some good backstory and character development about who Eleanor is, and also where Oliver is coming from, where we see a flashback to him as a child, where Eleanor gave him, I think, a knife. And even though he did it, he killed his pet turtle. But he always felt that Eleanor was responsible for that because she kind of coerced him to do it. And then she also coerced him to do his first kill. So kind of, who was it? His psychology teacher or his therapist?
I think
or something?
so. His therapist. Therapist.
But yeah, so just like Eleanor coerced Juliet to go to this party and drain this random drunken guy dry, Eleanor did the same thing to her brother Oliver. So there's a pattern here of gaslighting and manipulation from this woman. And again, I will stress this: she is not a good person.
Yeah,
she is not a good person at all.
Exactly.
And Oliver has his reasons for wanting to leave the family, and we get to see part of that explanation, part of that exposition in that flashback in episode 7. So just that's all I have to add.
And also too, staying with that picture too, Carmen is dope, by the way, which she would be another one of those things where I said this show did so well at like giving you a little taste of these characters, and you wanted more development and figure out more of them. Her being his girlfriend, being a witch, she had her moments where she, like, at one point she stops the car and it's like lightning and everything going on. You have Jules and her and Sebastian in the car. You got Cal in the car. It was part of that first date moment. She does that. You also figure out she has something to do with the murder of Ashley in the first episode. So this witch, she got some powers here. Carmen is coming with it. She got something going on here, but we don't get that full explanation. She's also part of the offer that I forgot what episode we skipped in this part too, but Jamie hinted on it a little bit, where Oliver comes to Jules and is like, look, I can make you human, but I need you to help me get to Eleanor. Because he still knows that Jules has that connection with Eleanor at that point. And so Carmen was going to play a part in, obviously the witches know the incantations, the spells, the things you need to have. So she was going to be a part in trying to make Jules human. She still could be, get another season. That could be another thing to go to. So yeah, I just thought it was, I'm going to give Carmen a shout out because I thought she was dope. I thought that was cool representation. I was so throughout this whole series, which is so important to see these different elements and different mix-ups.
Episode 8, First Betrayal.
So I'm gonna just go ahead and hit with this one. Theo is a vampire. That was one of the main things that hit out into this episode. So real quick, because I know we're taking forever to get through this episode. So many meaty episodes here, because I think they were all ranged at least an hour or so each. But anyway, so they are basically Theo and Apollo go to a popular brewery, drink a spot or whatever, where they know Eleanor is going to be out hanging out, where she usually do a lot of her feet and all that kind of stuff, meeting guys. So they pop up on her, just to kind of get more information. They think they have a key to what's going on with Theo's mom, key to the legacy vampires, all that kind of stuff. So Apollo thinks he can go in here, work his little game and all that kind of stuff. Things ain't going to go well. He almost ends up sleeping with Eleanor, because we know she always picking out them stalls, trying to sleep with whoever. So it was getting ready to go, them two getting ready to go left there. And Theo's like, Theo always clean up the mess. He comes in and he's like, okay, what are you doing? What's going on? I did not need the information this way. And they end up fighting it out with her. Eleanor's not going down. She's been through these brawl situations. She's not going down without a fight. They try to use like a silver. They try to choke her out with her, maybe it might even chop her head off, I guess, if they would have pulled hard enough. So Theo tries to go from the back. Apollo tries to go from the front with like a silver spear, whatever, just to kind of see what they can do to try to take her on at the same time. She ends up waking up. They think she has her passed out. She's done for. She ends up waking up, slides to the side. And so Apollo ends up stabbing Theo, or ends up killing Theo. And then, if that's not the worst of it, Eleanor, Eleanor has a power where she can wipe minds and you never know she was there. So she ends up wiping both of their minds. So he's sitting there with his brothers dying, and she wipes her memory. He has no idea what's going on. So they're just in the stall. Theo is dying. And so that's where we kind of leave them for a little bit until Theo ends up making the call to Cal, who is with Jules, I believe at I think were they? I wonder if they were. I don't know if they were at Jules' parents' house. I'm kind of because they kind of bounce around in between finding like safe locations where they can be together. They always have the location of each other's bedrooms or wherever they're going to be at. But she ends up calling them. They come down there. They come down to the bar, and you see this moment. Obviously, Cal cannot stand it. That's her brother. She is just on the floor, losing it, out of control. As she should be. Her and Apollo end up leaving because they like, okay, we got to go home. We got to, we got to let our parents know what's going down. We got to go quick. And so they leave Jules in the bathroom, and you thinking Jules is just cleaning up everything, getting rid of the evidence because her family specializes in this, getting rid of scenes and making sure everything is okay. So we kind of leave that scene for a little bit. And Theo and Apollo, or Theo, not Theo and Apollo gets to the house with Cal, and they're going to reveal like their brother is dead. They can't, like I said, poor Apollo can't remember anything. He doesn't know what's going down, what's happening. So they get into the house, and you think they're going to have this, you thinking, oh my God, my heart, they're going to all drop to the ground. They're going to be crying and not going to know what to do. And Theo is sitting at the dinner table. So it's like they're having just a traditional family, like, meal. Everything is fine. Everything is cool. And you like, did I miss a scene? Was I not paying attention in the episode? And then all of a sudden he started having these stomach pains, right? Because he's like throwing down the steak and everything, has start having these stomach pains. So he goes upstairs. We also get a moment where we have Cal and her parents. She's there like, look, we need your cell phone. Guild is coming in hardcore. We need to get out of town. You need to stay away from, they laying down the law. You need to stay away from Jules and all that kind of stuff. And Cal's like, okay, yeah, okay, good. Take my phone. I get it, whatever. Because her and Apollo know something's going down. Something is not right with Theo. So they're trying to get upstairs. And you keep getting these flashes of like, them doing their thing. You see Theo in the room. The blood just starts coming from his eyes, like his mouth. He's in just like so much pain and everything. He's like screaming and everything. And eventually Taya figures out what's going on because her kids can't hide nothing. They just like standing by the door, listening, trying to hear it. And she figures out what's going on and calls for Jack. And so this is when we get the reveal of Theo is now a vampire. And so, how it goes down in the Hunter family. The first thing they thinking, okay, we needed to restrain him and we're going to have to kill him. We can't have we're going to have to get rid of him. He can't be this vampire. He can't be this way, right? But Taya, what I told you about that mama bear, she don't play about her kids. Everything else can come last to her kids. And so you get to see this battle of her and Jack saying, Jack is more like, he's a dad, but he's more like on the rules. He's like, no, we're not having a vampire up in this house. This is not my son anymore. I need to take care of this. I need to get rid of this. And Taya's like, over my dead body, you will not touch my baby. Mm-hmm. She is forceful on like, this is her son that is going down like this. So it's cool to see their relationship in that factor too. And like I said, it's all about family and what they value and what this all means, what the hunt actually means to them. And you see how important their kids are. So you kind of jump from that, and you kind of jump from Jules having this whole like little thing with Eleanor before we find out what Jules does and has her interaction with Cal. But so with Jules and Eleanor, they have this knockdown, drag out, because we talk about how Eleanor is she's just not a good person. She's just point blank not a good person. Mm-hmm. And Jules is like, how how what Cal means to me, and you're gonna go after her brother, you're gonna tear this family apart. What you did is not right. And so they have this battle scene. I think Jules ends up taking like some kind of key, or I think the key to the storage unit is what she ends up taking, that we find out revealed later. And she got a little small crew of her own. She got her brother backing her. So we end up finding that she's ended up taking that to Oliver. Oliver finds out what's going out. And Jules puts a plan in motion, you guys. She's not playing with Eleanor anymore. She's done. And so the SWAT shows up at the house, and it's like it's done so for Eleanor right now. And her parent, and with vampires, it's all about, I need to stay low key so you don't know what kind of sneaky stuff I'm up to. I can't have the FBI, can't have all the SWAT and in my business and everything like that. So Margot and Sebastian, they fight a little bit. They like, get your hands off my daughter. We'll come down there, bail you out. But nah, they like, it's still all about the show, because they're like the last forefront of protecting this Emerald Machina, this family legacy. Margot's not having it. So basically you get like what Jamie was hinting at, you get the scene with Oliver and Eleanor down at the police station. She's just been arrested. She going to prison because there's so much evidence mounting up against her. We know what kind of person she is. She pissed off Jules. Jules was like, I done had enough. You got to go. Jules played her hand real well in this one. She finally showed, okay, listen, I got a little something. I'm not as weak as y'all think I am. And so Oliver kind of brings out, that's when Jamie's talking about, he brings out his story. So we get to see basically the end resolve to Eleanor's out for now. The parents are more concerned about keeping the powers that be in the legacy world from finding out what's happening in their family. So they're not coming to bail her out right now. So that kind of puts a little stint in what's going on in Jules' family. That's kind of where we kind of leave them a little bit, where a little lasting thing there. So, and also they get a summonings that in 2 days they're gonna have to face the music. So 2 days they're gonna have to face the music for this legacy vampire family, and we kind of leave off there with them as far as like where that's gonna go, because now they're gonna have to answer for where's Davina, what's going on with Eleanor, do they really have the Emerald Mackinac that all the families are trying to request after. And so we're dealing with that. So that's the end of her family. Now we have Jules that goes back to find Cal, and we get to the scene where they basically lost restraint of Theo, and you have Apollo and Jack they're all fighting it out on the lawn, and they can't restrain. He's a vampire. He's got a lot of strength. He's ready to bust loose the way he's feeling. And then it is revealed when Jules steps on the line that she was the one that created Theo, because when you turn into a vampire, as we all heard the lore before, you have to go back. You end up basically feel like you're being ripped apart. And like, you don't know, you have to get that feed from the person that created you. So we essentially have that scene where we figured out that Jules was the one that created him. Cal is pissed off. She's like, so you're going to turn my brother into a vampire. All we've been through, what we mean to each other, this is what you're going to do. And she's also done with the fact, and I thought this was interesting, where she pointed out the fact that Jules has that innocent quality about her, or she tries to play innocent like she doesn't know what's going on. Where I in a sense, I see that, and I think I would have been pissed too. You turning my brother into a vampire, but also I do genuinely think she thought, and Jamie, you can kind of take it away from here and give your opinion on what you thought. Yeah. I do really think that she thought she was trying to save Theo. Like, I think she was trying to give Cal something bad because she knew her family had basically ripped her family apart.
Yeah, you just said it. I was gonna say the same thing. I've seen this on other vampire shows where basically a dying human, if they drink the blood of a vampire, that would be enough to help save their life. So that's exactly the lore that is followed here. And so by having Theo feed on Juliet, Juliet just wanted to save Theo's life. So she wasn't really even thinking about, like, it was a moment where she was just like literally in the moment. She wasn't really thinking about the repercussions or what the consequences of these actions would be later on down the road. She just saw that Theo was there dying in a pool of his own blood. Yeah. And she knew that this would be absolutely devastating to Cal. So she was like, just feed from me so that you can live. And unfortunately, it does mean that he'll become a vampire, but at least he'll be alive. Yeah. And I feel like that was enough for Juliet in that moment. But unfortunately, Cal is not happy with that when she does find out from Juliet that she was responsible for turning Theo into a vampire. And that causes a sort of a separation, a rip between the two of them. And it's kind of sad because I think it was kind of done, in the name of love, really. I think she definitely had some, good intentions behind it.
Yeah, when she picks, and they have that heart-reaching scene, you guys, where Cal picks up like the silver spear, and then she's like, I'm gonna hunt down all of you legacy vampires. Like, she is too through, and it's just the words that come out of their mouth is very heart-wrenching, because you spent these whole 8 episodes like, okay, they're gonna be together, they're gonna figure it out. And so it's truly that it's a different, like we keep saying, it's a different spin on Romeo and Juliet. So it's that ending where you kind of get that love, so to speak, kind of falling apart, because of these two families.
Yeah. So I think to kind of sum up my thoughts, and I'll add this little graphic at the end for you guys if you want to chime in, or if you want to leave comments afterward after you've seen it. Are you satisfied with the ending? I'm going to be honest. I was a little disappointed that the season ended on a cliffhanger, because I get that cliffhangers are a thing in episodic television when it transitions from season to season. But this is a first season show. We don't know if it's going to get a second season or not. If it was a show that has been a show that's been around for quite some time, and we know for certain, oh yeah, it's definitely getting renewed or whatever, then I think a cliffhanger like this would make sense. But I'm just sort of like, there's cliffhangers that are, and I'm making up my own terms here. There's like a soft cliffhanger, and then there's like a hard cliffhanger. And I feel like this was like a hard cliffhanger. And what I mean by that is, like, God forbid, if this show doesn't get a second season, we don't know. Nothing is resolved, because it ends with Calliope and Juliet breaking up. It ends with Theo becoming a vampire, and now he's living with Oliver and Carmen. So we don't know what's going to become of that. Then the legacy vampires are now looking for Davina, who is missing, and sends that letter to Margot. So we don't know what is going to become of Margot's, what's going to happen with her story. Like, are they going to go after her? So there's just a lot of open cliffhangers. And I just kind of wanted it to be more of a soft cliffhanger where there could be a little bit of some sort of resolved conflict, and maybe there could be something that's open, but at least we would be satisfied in knowing that if, again, God forbid, this isn't renewed for a second season, we would be satisfied with how these characters' stories ended. And I wish I could think of some examples of shows that have done that, but I can't at the moment. But that's my only critique, is just it's just so unresolved. Like, I really was disappointed that we ended the series with this huge fight between Juliet and Calliope, when sort of the whole season they're like in love, and there's just this great energy between the two of them and this great romantic arc that's developing, and then it ends in a fight, and then okay, nothing. That's it. We have to wait. So I guess for the writers and for the folks that create this show, I guess the hope is, let's get a second season so we can see some of this conflict resolved. But I don't know. I needed some satisfaction in that ending.
Yeah, it's kind of sad that we're kind of living in this time now with all these streaming services competing, with all these networks competing, where you either have to, you gotta choose your battles, right? Like Jamie said, we never know if we're getting another season. So you either give it all the guts you want to take with it and say, ooh, I'm about to cut it off right here, and you guys just got to find out. And that might be the last we see of it. Or you kind of wrap it up, like Jamie saying, give that soft ending where you give us a nice conclusive wrap, and you could come back and give us some more of the story if you need to.
Yeah, but I just don't want, like, I just don't think writers and producers should ever assume that they're going to get another season, if that makes sense. Like, just have an ending that kind of ties a little bit like a looser bow, maybe not a tight bow, but a looser bow where, just in case the show doesn't continue, we've got some, sort of resolved conflict happening here. Because, like you said, like in the world of television with all of these competition happening, we don't know. And I mean, I really do hope this show gets another season, because it's a good show, and it deserves to have its story expanded upon. But I feel like the assumption that, okay, well, we're gonna end on this really big cliffhanger, this like who shot JR kind of cliffhanger, and you're just gonna have to wait and see. I just kind of think that is probably not the best strategy in the world that we are in now with television and streaming shows and all of that. So
and the team gave so many Easter eggs, if you want to use that, or character development throughout the series, where like Jamie is saying, you could have wrapped it differently, because there's so many angles you can go. Even if given the green light for another season, there's so many different angles you could take with these characters if given the green light. So do we necessarily need like that huge, like big hitting cliffhanger where it's like, oh my gosh, we need a resolution. Like, are they going to ever talk to each other? What's going to happen? But I will say something though, that I was picking up, the vibes I was picking up on this ending. And I don't know, I could be going far left because maybe watching too many vampire shows or whatever. But when they have the scene where you could tell Cal realized that maybe she messed up, maybe she went too far about her family, and so you see her start running down the street, like you know, cause like she had a moment and Jules is like crying or whatever in the car or whatever. And I'm thinking Jules is going to hit something to either, at first I thought she was going to we're going to see her hit something and not know what happened to her because she's just crying hysterically and just like tearing the street up, blazing down the street in the car. But I'm wondering, I'm like, what if they try to do that thing? What if they're on the same street? Is what I kept thinking. And then I'm like, well,
and she
what if
hits Calliope with her car?
That's what I was thinking. I was like, what if they're on the and they could have been two totally different locations. Like
that would be interesting. She hits Calliope with her vehicle. Calliope is, dying on the pavement, and then Juliet makes her feed.
This is what I'm thinking. This is
forces
what I'm thinking.
her to feed to give her to make her alive, and then makes her a vampire. I don't know. I feel like that's going to make Calliope even more angry. You turned me into a vampire.
Oh yeah. Calliope and her family, they're gonna be pissed. It's not gonna go well if that's what happens. But I just kept thinking for some reason, I don't know why I kept thinking they were probably on a strange street. But if you guys go back and poke holes into what I'm saying, maybe you find like some screen captures. Maybe they were on two different sides of the city. I don't know. I just kept thinking they were in the same area.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's probably too many vampire shows or whatever, but who knows? They definitely gave us like a big cliffhanger. Hopefully we get a season 2. Hopefully it did well enough. I mean, it was kind of it was trending yesterday on Twitter. I haven't checked today. Hopefully it's still going. Hopefully people are loving this love story and get to see more of it.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, cool. Well, we're going to go ahead and wrap up our show. I really hope that you guys that tuned in, thank you for those of you that tuned in live. And for those that you guys catch later on, I hope that, you guys got a lot out of our recap. I mean, as far as how I feel about the show, by the way, great job, Ryan, doing the recap.
I feel like I was talking too much for you guys. So hopefully you got something out of it. I was like, oh God, let me wrap this up. Because these episodes, they were like, oh, we could just go back and watch some of these details.
Ryan does a lot of recaps for the Black Girl Nerds YouTube channel, so that's why I always defer to her to recap some of these shows, because I'm a woman of a certain age and I don't remember details. So
Jamie,
you're very good at that.
Get on her nerves because they probably got on your nerves too. So we let Jamie do that.
Yeah, so I'm just here to chime in and give my little 2 cents as needed. But as far as my thoughts on the show, there's some parts where I'm just like, okay, the writing could have been a little bit stronger here.
Right, yeah.
And it felt a little bit cliche there, but I actually enjoyed the show. I binge watched it on Friday when it premiered on Netflix, and I don't really binge watch a lot of shows. You really got to grab my attention. And this show actually
is a tough critic. She's a tough critic.
Yeah, I actually am. And this show really kept my attention, which is something that obviously that's rare. Because I have such huge ADD when it comes to shows. Like if you don't get me interested in the first 2 episodes, I'm done with the show. I can't continue watching. Some people are like, well, give it at least 5 episodes in. And I'm like, those first 2 episodes are key. After that, but First Kill is not like that. First Kill keeps you interested through and through. But yeah, I think, I definitely think that this is a show that definitely deserves a second season. And again, I enjoyed it. I really love the characters. I thought the actors did a fantastic job. I love the chemistry between Imani Lewis and I think her name's Sarah Catherine Cook.
Yep.
Yeah. I love their chemistry. They radiate on screen. So great casting there. The family of hunters are awesome. So and the actress that plays Eleanor, she did a great job. She's really good. And also Elizabeth, oh gosh, why am I forgetting her name?
Mitchell. Talking about Margot?
Elizabeth Mitchell. Yeah, I mean Elizabeth Mitchell is like a veteran and legendary in the TV teeny bopper soap opera universe, and she does a fantastic job as Margot. So everybody, I really honestly, again, I there's little plot holes here and there.
Right.
I brought that up about the blood. Okay. Blood paralyzes you externally, but internally, all right. But other than the plot holes here and there, I think that overall I really enjoyed this show. So yeah.
Yeah. You guys this is very well casted. So even if you're just going just for the casting, for the characters, I'm one of those people that you get me hooked. If I have a character that I could gravitate towards, I really want to see what's going down with them. And I feel like they had a good handful of characters that you wanted to know more about and get their backstory. So you're gonna stay to the end. But yeah, they got me with the ending, you guys. We need a part 2.
We got to get that part 2 because I'm like, man, why did y'all end it like this?
I was like, I was like, that's it.
Yeah,
like the little next button on
yeah, I was waiting for it to say next episode. I was like, no.
I was like, what? I was like,
don't
why?
recommend other movies to me. I want to see a next episode.
I don't care about those other movies. Give me the part 2.
So well, cool. Well, again, thanks you guys for tuning in. We are going to see you as usual next Thursday. We do have a special guest that's going to be joining us, so we'll make those announcements very soon. Make sure again to subscribe, hit that notification bell, hit the like button, and we appreciate all of you guys. And I enjoyed this. I hope maybe we can do another recap series.
Yeah, it's a lot of stuff coming out, so you guys be ready. Okay, hit the subscribe so you know next time. Because I know they're going to be looking at this episode like they didn't say anything. They posted it real quick before, so subscribe so you know, because we're going to keep popping up on you guys and doing recaps.
Yeah, I enjoyed our first live podcast recap. I think that this is great. We kind of did like a mini recap of Obi-Wan on Thursday, but to go through an entire series, what is it? 8 episodes series. That was fun. I enjoyed it.
This is cool. Yeah, this is fun. Like, Netflix put it all out because you can't wait. You can't go episode by episode on Netflix, so you got to put it out there. So,
they do that season dump, which
Yeah, I'm like, but you guys enjoyed it. We had fun. This is cool. But yeah, like I said, we're gonna keep surprising you guys. So make sure you subscribe so you know.
All right, we will see you next time. Bye, everybody.
Bye.